America.
Well, I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you.
You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount.
I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
You got a lot of problems, don't you?
Oh, it's good to be back.
Eat shit. Eat shit. Eat shit.
Smug smile.
Definitely eat shit.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore.
You can't handle the truth.
Episode 49. Your list sucks. We're going to war. Yeah, this is one that I've actually, as the list came in, I would say that I know I've seen more war movies than I would like off the top of my head be like, I'm probably going to be terrible in that category. No, I've seen a fair bit, and I have an opinion. Some of these people that sent lists, interesting. But we're going to start it off with Paul. Paul, of the people on the call, have been on the show the most. So, Paul, do you feel like there's a record here? I'll just announce it for everybody. I've seen 8 of the 10 of Paul's movies. Tried to watch a 9th. Couldn't get Criterion Channel decides to just stop. So, So, Paul, do you think you'll have the best list, the most interesting list, or the worst list?
I think I often have, at least for me, the most interesting list. I have no idea what this is going to look like. This panel is very not what most people would probably think of with war movies. So there's not going to be a ton of like the very mediocre 80s war movies that I was kind of hoping to make fun of. No, probably no Hamburger Hills here. But I'm excited for this list.
Yeah. If you would have told me, hey, who's the 4 that are going to be on war movies? Sorry, guys. 4 of you I wouldn't have selected, probably. Lucas told me since day one. Lucas, you show up only for topics that you're passionate about, which I appreciate. Some people just show up to be on a call. Do you feel like you'll have the best list, or did you just pick a bunch of technical achievement things and not really war movies?
I appreciate the dig this early. Thank you, Cody.
More to unpack later.
I think I picked the best list. I think you're also burying the lead, which is that we need to talk about the fact that the Patriots drafted a white supremacist, and Manny Ramirez wants to play baseball again. And, that's the important shit that we should talk about.
Yes. Yes, we'll leave everything else a little bit underwrapped, but yeah, that was you didn't score the highest grade ever given on your list sucks during sports movies. So that is something that is yet to be achieved. Spence, you were going to be on one episode. You dropped out.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you got into a bar fight that night. I'm not going to go into too much detail. But do you feel like this, for your first time, are you going to win the top spot?
No. There's at least one pick on this list someone here will murder me for, I guarantee you.
Well, we're quite violent on the show. And Cam, I think you finished all over the place. Have you won an episode yet?
I have won an episode, I have lost an episode, and then I would have been second on Disney, but I don't know how to stop talking, so I came third. So if I get second today, I've hit all 4 spots on the board, and that makes me highly decorated. So
it's not as prestigious.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't think I have the worst list, but that's just because Spence is known for having traditionally trash takes. So we'll see what happens.
I also put out there that I didn't really want any like comic book movies on this list. I wanted just pure war, and everybody agreed to.
Wait a second.
I think so. I think everybody.
Captain America: Civil War should not be my number 1.
Civil War's out. Infinity War's out. Shit. First Avengers out. West Side Story.
I have
Star Wars.
Can I have 6? If somebody got one snuck by me, well, that's my bad. But normally, I don't think a majority of them is not that. So, we're going to start with the show. Everybody brings a top 10 list in. Then I bring nothing but my opinion is right, and I get to tell these people where they're wrong. I give them grades at the end. Their overall top 10 makes a combined list of the best war films out there, so we'll see if that's actually true. We're going to start 10 through 8, and we're going to start with Cameron Holzmann. Cameron.
All right, so I say all 3 of them, and then I go one by one. Okay.
Yeah, 49,
so,
you're getting it down good.
This is only my 4th time on the show, so like, hey.
How many times did it take? Go ahead.
4, apparently. My number 10 is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. That's not how you spell
Ooh,
Striped
not
Koho.
Striped Pyjamas. Woof. Woof. That is a different movie.
I would like to say that is exactly how Cameron Holtzman sent it to me, and I didn't fact check him.
I didn't
So if
send
you're
the
gonna
list
get
to
mad
you.
at
I
anyone,
sent it to
that's
Cody.
him.
I didn't send you my list.
I will expose you. Holtzman.
We will talk about that other movie at a totally different time. Okay, go to your 9, please. From
My 9 is Throne of Blood. And my 8 is Beasts of No Nation. Yeah, all right. So my number 10. This movie is depressing as all hell. It's 2 hours building up to a couple of children dying. But it's really well made. The story's fantastic performances. And I like that it's more than just the Battle of War, and it's that like the people affected by it. So now my number 9, Throne of Blood. Koho changed the graphic. Thank you. So Throne of Blood, for those who don't know, is Throne of Blood is Akira Kurosawa's essential take on Macbeth, where it is Macbeth but with samurais. It's super cool. The massive like action set pieces are fantastic. Toshiro Mifune is incredible in the lead role. Absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And my number 8, Beasts of No Nation. Almost purely on this list just because Idris Elba's performance in this movie is brilliant. He should have been nominated at least for the Oscar and wasn't. It's a great story of child soldiers in like a civil war in Africa, and it's absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Okay. So, Boy in the Striped Pyjamas is literally the movie that I have seen. I don't know when it was released. Somebody can tell me correctly because
I think 2009.
Is it 09 or
so I have
because I watched it when I was 9, and that was me learning about what the Holocaust was for the first time.
All right, coming soon to Multiplex council session with Cameron Holtzman. Okay, this is
it is 08, by the way. Just saying.
Okay.
It is 08.
Oh, is
this
it?
This is the poster. This is the poster that I've seen the most. Like one of the movies I've seen the most that I've never clicked on, because it just. I'm never in that mindset to just like.
You shouldn't be
cry about the Holocaust at this moment. Like it's like Schindler's List. I trust that it's a good movie. Like I've seen Schindler's List, so I think it's a good movie. So, but the thing is, I don't go back to rewatch Schindler's List all the time just because of the subject matter, and I think this is one of them. So I know Lucas is like, if it's not number 1 on Spielberg, you're dead to me. It's fine, whatever. He's a crickety old man, and it's fine. So haven't seen it. I will probably watch it one day when I like need like a good cry, but right now I'm just not there. Okay,
I have seen it once and it broke me, so have fun.
9. So when I looked up Throne of Blood, I was like, this seems interesting. But then I stared at a Criterion circle, like keep going for 2 hours today, trying to watch a different movie that was higher on someone's list. So I didn't get a chance to watch anything else. So we'll check it out. Sounds cool. I mean, Macbeth plus swords, sure. Sounds blessed to me. And then you're 8, yes, Beast of No Nation. I like this movie a lot. I guess it's not one that I thought of right away, which is fine, which is a good place for like 8, 9, 10. And I'm not getting into the Oscar debate if somebody should be nominated, but sure, he should have been nominated. I'll agree with you. All right, we're going over to Lucas. Paul. Always got Colin. All right, go ahead, Lucas. Tell us your 10, 9, 8.
All right, my number 10 is Lone Survivor. My number 9 is Saving Private Ryan. And my number 8 is Letters from Iwo Jima.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Spence. Weird faces over there. Lone Survivor, really great small war film. When you get into the individual aspects of a team, I think Wahlberg is really good. Actually, I think every member of the team is really good. I think it has a really powerful ending and a really interesting story, really interesting true life story, and just a really engaging team-based film. Saving Private Ryan, which I'm sure everyone is like, why isn't this higher? I mean, okay, fine.
Nobody yiked it.
Actually, no one yiked it. So
I'm surprised no one
it shouldn't even be on the list. But go ahead.
All right. opening sequence is obviously brilliant. Nobody's going to argue with that. Great film. I'm not going to talk more about it. Everyone has talked about it to death. And then Letters from Iwo Jima. Paul was talking about this 2 weeks ago, I think. It's a fantastic movie. And I think, honestly, the most impressive thing about this movie is you have a guy in Clint Eastwood who is politically very conservative, very right-wing, who is making a movie that is very fair and actually very empathetic to the opposite side in a very pivotal war. I think that's actually a really, really, really impressive thing for him to be able to do in that time.
Okay, so 10, Lone Survivor. I like this movie. I kind of expected it to be on Lucas's list, maybe at the 10 spots, right? It's a very intense movie. I kind of like this one because war is not always battle versus battle or team versus, like, this is just 4 people just trying to survive their best. Famous family friend, one of the famous things Family Friend said once, doesn't the movie kind of give the whole story away? Well, true, but it's a true story, so you don't need to think about it too much. But yeah, it's a fine number 10. I have no problem with that. 9, I am not the biggest Saving Private Ryan fan. I've said that on like a Spielberg one, like they all his top 5 with chance over a Full Metal, and I said I'm gonna say no to it on that because I think it's a fine movie. I think that opening scene, but once that opening scene happens, it's just downhill for me. I don't cling to the story as much as everybody else. I like Thin Red Line better from those years, so that's always my takeaway. I don't hate it at 9. I expect it on people's list because that first scene alone is better than some scenes in all war movies, so I can't fault it on there. And 8 is, what was it again?
Letters.
Oh yeah, me and Paul talked about this on like 2 weeks ago. I think it's one of the most underrated war movies that you don't really hear much about, and I think you actually hit the nail right on the head that it's so surprising that this movie came out of the director it did, and even that side of the story, like it could have easily been just hoorah America, but like they actually told like the actual important story on the other side, which I love this movie, so well done. 8 may be a little low, and I'm surprised, Paul, but I think it's because Paul already talked about it, so that's fair. We're going to Spence.
Woo. All right. My number 10 is Eye in the Sky. My number 9 is Braveheart. And my number 8 is Judgment at Nuremberg.
I think this is a record 3 straight no yikes. I think that might be something, but we'll see.
I just like watching Paul's face when I was talking about this.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. All right, yeah, so Eye in the Sky, for those who don't know about it, because it's a really forgettable film that no one really cared about when it came out, is about the political turmoil of trying to figure out the logistics of firing a drone in a civilian area, and, like, what's better, like, stopping one bad person or accidentally killing killing a lot of bad people or killing a few innocent people. I think it's just a really fascinating, intense drama that dives into the war in a way that I wasn't used to at the time. Helen Mirren is great. Wow, I just blanked on everyone that's in this. The entire cast is phenomenal. Barkhad Abdi is someone who I was a big fan of, and Captain Phillips. Glad to see he got continuing work following that. Alan Rickman is great. Aaron Paul is great. It's just a really tense film that I really enjoyed watching. Braveheart. There's not much to be said about it. It is one of the classic war films. Surprised no one yikesed it. A little hard to go back and rewatch, mostly because of the length of it, because it's hella long, a little slow at the beginning. Mel Gibson, I'm not a huge fan of him as a person or an actor or a director. Is one of my first real, like, big loves from him. So very supportive of that. And Judgment at Nuremberg, which I think only of people here Lucas has seen. I didn't see it on Letterboxd.
Paul Oyama is here.
I didn't see it on his fucking Letterboxd. That's why I checked. Anyway, again, aspect of World War II
that didn't happen.
Exactly. It's not an aspect of World War II that I was really familiar with. It's a great courtroom drama. It's not a genre that I generally am a huge fan of. And it took me like 3 or 4 days to get through, but I think it's just a really rewarding experience. It's a fascinating screenplay. The entire cast is fantastic. As a resident Julie Garland fan, her like 10 minutes is some of the best acting I've seen from the decade. It's I think it takes a while to get there, but everything within the courtroom is just direction at its finest. Absolutely adore. Would recommend, but like set aside some time because it's a slog.
Okay, I am this guy. Let's skip across. Nope, didn't. One of the 10. Yeah, I saw it. I was like, no. Weird to make top 10. Braveheart. I'm gonna come out and say it. I actually really enjoyed this movie. It might just be when the age I saw it, and I still carry with it. It's super long. I don't watch it all the time, but I still find some enjoyment out of it. Yeah, Mel Gibson. He is what he is. And Judgment at Nuremberg have not seen, so I will make that quick. But you listed off the cast on 3 of your movies at this point, so Spence holds the record. So IMDb page. You're gonna
we just appreciate that Paul and Lucas are commenting in the live chat.
Oh no, that is their only way of that is the only way they get to talk during everybody else's.
Wait, can I hear why you don't like Eye in the Sky? Because that's interesting to me. Does it seem like a movie you could? Yeah.
Oh, because I haven't seen it.
Oh, you're like, it's not like you're just like, fuck this movie.
You picked a Helen Mirren movie from 2015 that I didn't even know existed.
X-Men Origins Wolverine director Gavin Hood.
I didn't even know existed.
Aaron Paul was in it as well. Give some respect.
You're not helping, Spence.
I'm going to let you all know something behind the scenes. When you send me your 10, I honestly don't care what it is. I'm not watching it because you spend 30 seconds, supposed to be 30 seconds, talking about the movie. And I'm not cool. I'll check it out if you sell it to me. But Eye in the Sky, I looked it up and I said, Aaron Paul and Helen Mirren? Cool. No thanks.
Anyway.
He could have been an Oscar winner. It doesn't matter his last role. It doesn't mean I check out the movie right before he dies. Like, that doesn't make a movie for me. The premise does. Okay, Paul, please take it away. 1098.
Number 10, probably the longest title on the list, and that's Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. My number 9 is Fury.
Yikes.
And my number 8 is Grand Illusion. So, Master and Commander, I think that, again, ocean epics are kind of ignored when it comes to wartime, but I think that this is maybe my favorite Russell Crowe movie, actually. And I think, like, one of the great adventure epics of modern filmmaking. I think like the way that it accomplishes sort of making you care about these people, and also just the viscera of the action is pretty amazing. Obviously, my 9 is a yikes. My number 8 is a film from French auteur Jean Renoir, and is a super interesting French film from the 30s. It's about these men who are captured and sent to a prison camp, and then they have to escape. And it's sort of a lot of it is about the interplay with them and the man who's in charge of the prison, and you see a lot of similarities and differences between the men that are captured and the man running the prison, and it's cool seeing sort of the two sides of a similar coin. It's a really super interesting take on a war film. Takes kind of a turn in the third act as well. But yeah, those are my bottom 3.
Best Russell Crowe performance.
The movie, and I don't know about performance, but movie.
His best performance is Les Mis, easily.
Okay. No, but Master and Commander, get off the screen, Zach. Stop. Okay. Master and Commander, I think it came out at the right point for me to I really enjoyed this movie a lot. And I think you're 100% right that ocean epics, I didn't expect them to pop up, but this one is definitely one that needs to be talked about. Yeah, it's up there with, I won't say the movies because it may spoil stuff, but no, this one is awesome. Fantastic ocean epic. And you're, here we go. You're number 8. Haven't seen. So what's the next one? Who will find out? We'll find out later. Okay, so now the gloves get to come off. Is that right? Oh, yeah. God, this group is going to be freaking violent. Okay, we're going to start with Cameron. Hope you survive.
Yeah, my number 7, Cody said if I didn't watch it, if I hadn't seen it, I couldn't be on this show. My number 7 is The Patriot.
Ugh.
Cody said, okay, so do I talk about it now?
Yeah, you do.
I'm being fully honest. I did not just put this on the list to pander to Cody. I watched this and it's fantastic. Like it's what, like 2 hours 45 minutes almost, and it is engaging the whole time. The action in it is incredible. But then also there's like really dark, slow moments that just hit you, like when they're looking for the location of like the band of rebels, and they just go, and they finally get it. They go, great, and they just bar the doors of the church and they light it on fire, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you mother, and I'm like I want to like get
That's
up
America.
and punch somebody.
That's America right
it's insane. And then Mel Gibson is he's good in the movie.
Real life, some would say.
Pause. Paul Oyama, you're about to get a time to talk. Stop commenting in the chat because you can say what you mean out loud. Okay, are you done?
Yeah, no, this movie's fantastic. Great action, great battle scenes, and Jason Isaacs is a fantastically evil villain.
Thank you. Again, say what you want. This came out perfect timing. What, 2000? Oh, this screams America. Right down to the thing. Like,
and the Canadian put it on his list.
I'm sorry. Like,
it's not a good sign that the guy from Massachusetts was like, no, and the guy from Canada is like, yes.
It's like when Nazario put Independence Day. Like, I'm good. I was like, that's America. And that's, okay. No, I get it. This movie is not anywhere near perfection. Good, even would say. I just find it so entertaining and so rewatchable. I think Jason Isaac is one of the most brutal villains in this movie. Him and Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson just flipping takes somebody out with a tomahawk and like takes out the entire group.
When him and his two kids just ambush a caravan.
I think the two, and you said 2 hours and 45 minutes. Most war movies are like insanely long. This one does not feel like it to me. I think it flies by, and I would watch it. I own it on 4K on Vudu. You can watch it anytime you have my Vudu. I love this movie. And I agree. But guess what? The funny thing is, it doesn't matter what the three of you have to say because it's my opinion. And Cameron, you're in the lead.
Yeah.
Good job.
Woo! America, USA.
Spence, why don't you guys have
I didn't realize sucking dick got you a spot on the list. The movie's very good. the movie is very good. I'm not going to deny that. Just I haven't seen it in 5 years. And in terms of what I wanted to get caught up on, I would have rather done a first watch than a rewatch.
Just the wrong Mel Gibson movie thing. It's okay. Go ahead.
Like Judy Garland.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's probably the best Roland Emmerich movie, but like beyond that, like
that's still a punch to the face, and you know it.
It's all right, you know. Like
it's the best Roland Emmerich. Like I'm being nice to it.
Well, you know, it's a decent war movie. I don't think it's bad by any means. I just think that there's so many incredible war movies. I just don't get like unless you've seen like 12 war movies, why this would be on the list. I don't know. It's fine. I don't think it's particularly memorable, but that's just me.
Okay, it's not a good movie, first off. Secondly, if you wanted to watch a Mel Gibson war movie, you watch Braveheart. If you want to watch a movie where somebody kills somebody
when
with
we're
a tomahawk,
soldiers,
you watch Last
You watch them both.
I don't know why you would watch The Patriot or include it on this list. Like this was like
Cody said, if I haven't seen it, I can't be on the show.
Wait, no, okay. Can we just okay? It is a good movie.
Is it though? It's really boring.
For what it's
Spence, we're not going to have a big fight at 7, okay?
Are you sure?
Yeah, let's calm down. Okay, what's your 6? So far, you're in the lead of the show, so it doesn't matter.
My number 6 is apparently I just really like incredibly depressing war movies about children dying. My 6 is Grave of the Fireflies.
Yikes!
Had a feeling it was going to be yikes by Paul. My number 5 is 1917.
Yikes! I believe.
What the fuck is going on? Okay.
Slightly higher.
Is that a yikes? Okay. And my number 4 is Jojo Rabbit.
Oh wait, it's number 4. Okay, talk about 1917.
Do we talk about 1917 if it's his 4 and it's my 5, or do we wait for Lucas's turn?
You wait for Lucas's.
We yikes it. It's too late now. Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah. Who else has Jojo? Does anybody else have Jojo?
I have it.
Do you have it lower?
6.
Okay, you will talk about it now.
Okay. Taika Waititi is one of my favorite directors, and this movie is hilarious and fantastic. I think the screenplay is so well written. and that it's fantastically directed. It has like incredibly funny moments, but also the scene where Jojo is like walking, following the butterfly, and then you just see his mom's shoes, I think is one of like my favorite individual moments from a movie last year, just because you have this light, happy movie, and then it just hits you right in the chest, and it's like, oh, nope, this isn't funny anymore. This is sad, and you have to deal with it. Thomasin McKenzie is brilliant in it. Sam Rockwell is absolutely hilarious. The only real negative thing I have towards this movie is Rebel Wilson. But then again, Rebel Wilson in any movie is kind of a negative thing. So, oops. Taika Waititi as Hitler is absolutely fantastic, and the jokes that come out of it are... Paul, calm down. It's my turn to talk.
I'm not speaking.
Just I think it's brilliant and hilarious. The jokes hit, and it's incredibly rewatchable. Now to Spence.
I think it's brilliant at balancing tones, which you wouldn't really think from looking at Taika as a director. He doesn't have drama very well in his previous films, but at least having not seen Boy. But have
you seen Hunt for the Wilder People?
I don't think the drama in it is particularly entertaining, but I think that, and that's where I go down. I think JoJo is fantastic at that balancing of tones. I think his comedy is fantastic, and like Cam said, the second that he sees his mom's shoes, almost everything from there is like this fantastic, just hard-hitting, just like terrifying drama and the horror of war, while still keeping the somewhat lighter tone of that Taika tries to create. Thomasin McKenzie is amazing. Scarlett Johansson deserved the fucking Oscar. And Sam Rockwell is the greatest gay coded general I've seen since Dr. Strangelove, so big fan.
I mean, ScarJo definitely didn't deserve that Oscar, but go off, I guess.
Okay. So I've had a problem with this movie. And it's not that it's on your... Like, the problem with the movie... I like the movie. The problem is I don't really consider it a war movie.
Calm down,
in the
Paul.
regards... Hold on. Spence is going to be the first person ever banned from your list, Sox. I guarantee your facial expression just pissing me off. Okay. So the thing is, it's 20 minutes of like an actual anything. Like, it's wartime. I guess if that's what you want to consider it, that's fine in a way. But like, it's a satire like on the whole. I don't know. I like the movie. 4 is insane to me. 6 is insane to me. I'm okay if like it squeaks in a 10. It just came out, and that doesn't mean it can't make your list. I just think I don't really consider it like one of the top war movies. I guess that's a question I can ask. Does a war movie have to include like battles or anything like that? But I think it helps. I think it helps the case of war. So yeah, problems. You can hold your hands up as much as you like. Doesn't change my opinion. Oh, right. Paul.
It just
Lucas.
no. So Taika Waititi in this movie is like one of the most unwatchably awful characters of like the last decade. It's so bad and clashes with everything happening in the movie. It's ridiculous and nothing about it is funny past like the first bit he does. Like it's just so it's not funny and it's not serious. I don't know what it's trying to accomplish. But that character is absolutely awful. Thomasin McKenzie is phenomenal. I would watch Thomasin McKenzie do almost anything, and she is amazing in this movie. Roman Griffin Davis is really good, but the Taika stuff is so bad. And just the ending, like, did we not watch Perks of Being a Wallflower that already did the Heroes thing? Are we just going to do that again? I don't know. The movie's okay. It's pretty good. This is like one of the great war movies of all time. It's crazy, and yeah, the Hitler thing is oof.
Lucas?
I mean, I'm going to go a little bit less. Paul has the much more interesting take in this movie. For me, it's just, it's barely good enough to be considered for 10. I wouldn't consider it a war movie to begin with, because it isn't a war movie. It's a comedy more than anything. To me, a war movie has to have and be focused around scenes of combat. That to me is very important. Or you have to see the impact of war on other individuals, and I don't think this movie does either of those. And it's just not amazing. Like, why would you? This at 4 is insane.
Okay. Yes, Spence.
It not being a war movie is it's just fucking stupid. It is literally set during the war. The war is integral to the story. This wouldn't happen if it wasn't taking place during World War II.
So is Lion the Witch in the
It's more
Wardrobe.
like Hitler being in power. Okay, we're just gonna.
It's imperative to the story. Like, if you wanted to say Pan's Labyrinth isn't a war film, I'd argue with you. We have more to say there. This is 100% more of a war film than a lot of them because you take place
in World War II.
It's more of a war film than half of the films on my fucking list.
If I said a comedy in World War II, is it a war because it's centered like people are fighting outside?
Life is Beautiful is a war movie.
For what it's worth, I do think that this kind of is a war movie. Like I get Lucas's rule of his own list, but I don't think you should say that it's banned from like. If you think it's that good, then it should be on your list. I'm not. That's not.
Again. I let people defend their list, but when they come on, I'm with Lucas. I need something. So, all right, we're going to Lucas 7.
7. All right, let's do this. This is the one that I'm gonna be surprised if anyone has even seen. It's called Tai Gukji Brotherhood of War. It's
of course, Paul has seen it.
He made me watch this.
I did make him watch it.
Anyway, go ahead.
It's absolutely.
Did you share?
No, this was a year ago. This was a year ago for a different.
I made him watch this years ago. We used to do bets and make each other watch movies. So this is the one I made him watch. This is this absolutely wonderful Korean war film, which features these two brothers who are enlisted, who basically conscripted into the military. The older brother is a good fighter. The younger brother has like asthma. The older brother realizes that if he produces a certain number of kills, he can then get enough points to get his brother sent home from battle to keep him safe. And you get to watch these two brothers get ripped apart as the older brother becomes something the younger brother hates while trying to save his life. I think this is a truly amazing movie. No one has seen this film. And I just like randomly came upon it one time. I was like, this is awesome. Please, I'm not going to talk more. I don't want to spoil that much. Please, everyone in the audience, go watch this movie. I guarantee you will enjoy it.
It's the one on Hulu, right?
Is it the one on Hulu? Maybe.
What did you messaged me and said, would you watch a movie for my list if it was on Hulu or something? Foreign film. I don't know. I didn't get around to watching this one. But I will. Anybody else? Paul, you're the only one. Did the other two? Did you guys see this?
No.
It's good. It's good. I don't think it's like for me. It didn't like totally blow me away the way that I was hoping to. But I think a respectable choice. Just not something that I was like totally floored by. Maybe just Lucas was like too excited about it. I don't know.
Potentially.
Anything, Paul? Anything he's too excited about, you just skip over. Okay. What's your 6?
All right, my 6 is Platoon. Okay. I'm surprised that no one checks this. Truly fantastic war movie from the 80s. Oliver Stone talking about what happens to individuals when we put them in the toughest of situations. You get to watch the two sergeants, one become the true monster, and one become the ultimate like helper in the worst of times. You get to watch a really, really, really young Johnny Depp. Some truly harrowing scenes, truly great performances from Defoe and Berenger. It's a really fantastic movie, really good ending. Thank you, Paul.
How many more cast members do you list?
I'm done. That's all I need to do. It's just a fantastic war film, and I think touches on a war that in Vietnam that really changed the way America looks at wars. And I think this war movie is really kind of honest about how awful and bad that was and how much it fucked up the people we sent there to fight it.
Yeah. I guess I'm not surprised because we're putting 1917 and Jojo Rabbit on the list. But Platoon is fantastic. When I came up with the idea, I just said, hey, it's time to do war movies. I think Platoon was one of the first ones that came to my mind. I enjoy this movie a ton. Defoe is insane in this movie. I think it's one of his. He has so many good performances, but this is one of my favorites of his. Just his descent. So yeah, well done. 6. I'm interested to see why the other 3 did not put it on the list.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
It's great. I think one of the things that makes it great is that Oliver Stone was in the army and he understands the psyche of a soldier. And I think like him bringing that perspective is what makes the film more enriching. It's like a little ways off. It'd probably be like in the teens for me for best war movies. It's great. Just don't have the connection that I have for the rest of the movies on the list.
That's fair. What's your 5?
Okay, so I initially, when I came up with this, was like every movie needs to be focused in combat. and then I had to figure out a way to get my number 5 on the list, because when you have a list, you cannot not put one of your all-time favorite movies on it. So I put it a little lower just because I don't think it 100% qualifies, but Grave of the Fireflies is, I think,
Yikes.
Of course. All right, good man.
Oh, you're number 4. Go ahead.
All right, 1917. I love 1917, which feels like I should be standing up in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting and saying this. But I love this movie. And it's not because of the whole like one take technical aspects. And yes, it looks amazing. I don't know about everybody else. I get to see it in the theater. It was fucking gorgeous. I think it is absolutely stunning. It's also stunning at home. I love the frenetic pace of the film. My favorite part is when you get to the end and you kind of come into there's basically, I think of the movie, it's not really a oneer, it's really 3 different shots. And the final shot when he gets out of the river and you get to see life go back into this guy who has gotten the absolute shit beaten out of him for most of the movie. I think the ending of the movie is fantastic. The run across the battlefield is, I think, my favorite scene of any movie from last year. I'm going to make a crazy statement. George Mackay should have been nominated for Best Actor. And they should have taken Joaquin Phoenix out because Joker is terrible and Phoenix is not good in the movie.
I won't back you up on that one.
Yeah. Well, I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. I understand some of the arguments against it, but not most of them, to be completely honest.
I talk now, right? Because it was my 5.
Yeah, go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lucas, for directing Cody's show. I echo a lot of what Lucas said. I think that this movie is an incredible technical achievement, but that's not just what it is. This movie is, in its core essence, basically almost a play put to screen. It is essentially 2 acts where there is the clear break in the middle. The nighttime in Acoust, however you pronounce it, is one of the most visually stunning scenes that I saw in a movie last year, where it's just lit by like a massive burning building and these flares that keep shooting overhead, and it's him just running through these ruins of a town, and I think it looks absolutely stunning. George Mackay was fantastic in it. Dean Charles Chapman was also great. And then you have like all these veteran actors making cameo appearances, which honestly kind of distracting, but because it's all these unknowns and then just a couple of distracting really big names. But overall, it's still incredible. The story is super well paced. My biggest problem with it is that everyone's like, "Oh, it's the one take movie," when there's a clear, massive cut to black in the middle of the film.
There's 2 cuts to black.
This is true.
He goes in the water, you lose contact. He gets shot, you lose contact.
But yeah.
Cody, you're muted.
You're muted, Cody.
I'm doing one thing real quick. I'm doing something impressive. Give me a second.
Cody's getting ready to kill us.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to help you. Okay. If Cole could share what I put on the screen. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the cast list of 1917. Anybody else you want to mention?
We each named one, and I mentioned 2 people.
Okay, I just didn't know if I can get to the crew. Okay, cool. I'm just checking.
I mean, if we want to mention people, I love Andrew Scott's
No, we're done.
appearance.
We're done. We're absolutely done. So I'm not going to bite. Nice try. I'm not going to bite on the Joker punch. That's whatever you want to say. This movie's fine. At best, fine. I think the run at the end is going to be like I told the person I was watching the movie with. This is going to be the scene when they play back the this so many years in film. It's going to be one of the scenes that they include because I think it's tremendous. I think it's a great scene. The problem is when I watched this movie, all I was doing is paying attention to all the technical elements, and I didn't really care about the story too much because that's what the main thing is. It's a technical achievement and all the stuff they accomplished, but the story is fine at best. I don't think it's anything special or great or stands above anything else. The acting performances, okay. No, I would not have given anybody Oscar nomination for this. No offense. I think the movie's fine. Like I said, I don't have any issue with it. I just don't think it's 4. I think that's insanity. You also have Platoon lower, which I like Platoon way more. It's actually, learn about the characters a little bit more than them just running and dodging a plane. So, Paul, Spence, anything on 1917? By the way, the Joker comments does hurt your overall grade. Just you decided to. There's consequences for your actions. So, and I saw who was celebrating too. So, go ahead, Paul. Spence.
Go ahead, Spence. You go first.
I would say 1917 is actually really good. I think this is like what I think Cody mentioned before with Jojo Rabbit not being on the list because of like the whole needed to age more because of the recency thing. I think that's where I am with 1917. It's really good. I'm not going to argue against it. I do think everyone in it is really great. I think the emotional punch is there, and give IMDb up. Richard Madden is fantastic in his like one scene performance. There you go. I have nothing against the film. I do think that if you remove the gimmick, it doesn't become quite the same. But that's also not really heavy criticism. It's like I have nothing against it. Just they're better movies.
I like the idea of what this movie was going to be, but I think it just spends too much attention. I think the structure of it is really designed around the gimmick. So it's like a lot of times, like there are opportunities for conflict, but I think they settle for making the thing flow instead of making the character conflict interesting. And I think that's where it loses me a lot of times. If I have to hear the name Colonel Mackenzie one more time, my head will fucking explode. Stop saying his fucking name. And like the video game boss nature of all like the famous British actors thing really took me out of it. It's like we see Colin Firth, 10 minutes later we see Andrew Scott, 10 minutes later we see Mark Strong. It's like that stuff really takes me out of it, and it feels like it's just something that's tipping the hat to all of these different people. Again, it looks really beautiful. To be quite frank, I fell asleep the first time I saw it, not necessarily because the movie is boring, because I was really tired, but I went back and watched it. And on rewatch, I think it loses a lot. It loses quite a bit. I think I don't feel as invested in what's happening. So, yeah.
Assuming we're all laughing at Lorenzo's comments.
All right. Spence 7.
I'm gonna get booed. Okay, the great war movie. Remember, my number 7 is Tropic Thunder.
Go ahead.
No, yikes! Wow. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. I don't know how to talk about comedies other than oh my god, it's so funny and going through the IMDb list like Cody loves.
Love it.
According to IMDb, it counts as a war film, and if it wasn't for this, I would have 71 on the list, which no one gives a shit about. It's a really great time. I think it's fantastic. All the actors are incredible. One of the great fan league moments in history as well. Thank you, Lucas. Yeah, very quotable. That's the end of my comments.
Anybody else have this? No one? No.
Nope.
Just double checking. I love the movie. I think it's one of the great comedies. War movies. Okay. I can see your statement. I just find
fair.
The other stuff a little bit more. There's definitely a part of this movie I don't like, and I think most people can guess what that part is. Like everything leading up to Simple Jack is great. When Simple Jack happens, it is like a armored truck hitting just boom a flipping wall, and I'm just like, ooh, you did that. You chose that. Okay. Yeah, not one of the brightest moments from that, but everything else, like I think Junior and Robert Downey Jr. in this movie kills me. Absolutely kills me in this movie. I know it just upsets Lucas so much, but I think overall, like when they go into excessive rambling, and he just turns over. Are you talking to me? Because I'm not paying attention to what the fuck you're talking about. It's so funny to me. Like he's just should I get a PlayStation or Xbox? Like he's caring less about everything. And Satan's Alley, it's a great moment in this thing. So I will always ring that bell whenever I get a shot too. So yeah, 7 maybe shouldn't have been on this list, but it's like the Patriot. I enjoy it being brought up. So I'll save the grumpy old man in the blue shirt for the end. Paul, Cam,
I am actually kind of in this movie. I was like an uncredited extra when I was like 12 years old, so that was fun. But you can't actually see me, I don't think, in the scene.
So you love this movie.
Point aside. I do think this is a hilarious movie. I think it's. I wouldn't put it on because I think it's the comedy of the movie is structured around filmmaking, not around war itself. Like most of the jokes are not about war. The jokes are about films and filmmaking and film culture. So I think that's definitely like would take me, even though there was like a war kind of element. It's really funny. Again, great movie. Just like feels really weird having on this list. Like Dr. Strangelove would make sense because that's like the jokes are about war and wartime and the Cold War and all the stress that comes along with that. This is like not that. So yeah.
You know, I really enjoy this movie. I think it's hilarious. It's unfortunate that RDJ was up for the Oscar against Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight because he's incredible in this movie. The jokes hit, except for Simple Jack. Simple Jack is bad. So bad. But no, I really enjoy this movie. It's very funny. I understand why you have it on this list, but I don't.
We are about to get close to Clint Eastwood Gran Torino right now. Angry Lucas, go ahead. Tell us why it's a terrible film.
I have a chair to grab if you want me to him to yell
First
at it.
off, it's not a terrible film. It's not a terrible film. RDJ is really good in the movie. It's not a fucking war film. It doesn't qualify. That's like for me. I have no problem with the movie, and part of me feels like I'm laughing at everybody for talking about it from a movie perspective. For me, the disagreement is just clearly it doesn't belong on this list, and it was never even in contention. It was not like I could have made a short list of 1,000 movies, and it would not have been on there because it doesn't qualify. It just has nothing to do with war. Like it's not a war movie.
It's a fair.
So like really good film, but like
they're
doesn't
shooting
belong on the list.
and they enter a. Go ahead. Yes.
I'll say.
You're the only person, by the way, that's ever entered my show that has now got to do a rebuttal of your defense of why it counts.
Yeah.
Make it free.
Thank you for being. Yeah, okay. I would say just IMDb and Letterboxd both lists it as a war film, which is what I went on, and it's the same thing as like Heart of Darkness being a war film, where it's a movie about a war film.
What's a documentary?
Heart of Darkness is not a war film.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's the qualification that I'm using. It's a movie about a war film. That's what Tropic Thunder is.
Why didn't Tropic Thunder win Best Documentary at the Oscars, though? Like, what was it up against that year?
Okay, so Spence, what's your six?
At Jacob Angoni, tell us in the chat what the nominations for Best Documentary that year were.
My number 6 is Jojo Rabbit, so we can skip past that. My number 5 is probably the only yikes I'll have, Apocalypse Now.
Yikes.
Okay, good. Yeah. And then my number 4 is the one my number 4, Fury.
Okay. This Fury, this is where it stops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's I love David Ayer's director. I think he brings a lot of the style from End of Watch into this movie, where it's a really just like I'm forgetting the word for it. Like, it's a really claustrophobic, just like intensity that it edges on like this horror idea of just like trapped in your own mind and reality, and then trying to figure out how to handle the people around you, and then setting it in just a brutal just warscape. And the way that he films violence is absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Well,
So Fury, it's real great. I think it's I love the behind enemy lines aspect of it. I think the whole cast is amazing, and I love the interplay between them. I think the way that they play off each other brings the better performances out of each actor. I love Brad Pitt in almost anything. It's just a great visceral war film. It's a shame that David Ayer forgot how to make movies after this, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's a great movie.
Just a real quick for everybody that's ever watching this and wants to be on your list sucks. If you have it on your list and somebody's done talking, you can just jump in. I don't need to direct you because you had it on there. Fury is one of the movies that I was surprised that I enjoyed as much as I did, because I was like, how much can I really like a movie about a tank? It's a movie that shouldn't actually work as well as it does. Like, and the main four people that are in the movie, like of those, and the drastic difference in like characters, and like I think it tells the interesting story. Like in war, you don't get to pick your group. Like you don't get to pick your squad to go out and to fight. Like, it's not Call of Duty. You don't get to ready up with your friends. Like, you would just get to go out with the 4 that work. And it's so interesting. It's that scene where the tanks are squaring off near the end, and you're like, the entire time you don't know if they're making it or not. Like, there's no guarantee in this movie at all. So I think it's fantastic. So 4 maybe a little high, but I can respect it.
What about 9?
Lucas,
What about 9?
9's a good spot. 9's a good spot for sure. Cam, Lucas, didn't have it on your list. I'm a little curious why. Did it not to make your top 1,000? Maybe it was 500.
It's 569 was where it ended up.
Of course it would be.
Zach, he made a worse joke than me, so there we go.
No, I mean it's a good war movie. It was one that it definitely ended up on the short list, so I won't destroy it like Tropic Thunder. It was a little outside of my top 10, probably 15 to 18 range. Good movie though. Brad Pitt is really good in it.
Yeah, Cam.
I mean, you gotta love David Ayer, director of Suicide Squad and Bright. Although End of Watch is legitimately fantastic.
Yes, racist ape orc movie.
Where was I going? I'm gonna leave that where we lie.
12 orcs is never mind.
Nope.
I cede my time. Nope, I'm not following that. I'm done.
Nope. We did that for the entire comic book. We did that for the entire comic book. We're not doing it.
I waive my right to comment. Do not associate me with the things just said.
Everybody?
Move on, please.
It's to my 7. No, it's to my 7, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
So my number 7, a movie I had on recently, but I just want to talk about again. Stalag 17. It's back again. It's a movie I watched many, many times over. This is it's an incredible POW film. Every member of the prison is so entertaining in their own way. Again, Animal and Harry together are perfect. The scene where they're painting the lion and getting over to the Russian camp is pure hilarity. If anyone hasn't seen this, it's on Amazon Prime. Watch it. It's highly, highly entertaining. There's an amazing scene at Christmas in it. It's intrigue, but also comedy, and also characters you really like. It's just everything that I want in a movie. Almost, it's just got top to bottom stuff that I love. It's like less about the war itself, which is why it's a little lower. And I've talked about it lately, but it's an amazing movie. A movie I watch a lot.
Yeah, Stalag 17. Paul told me to watch it because I was doing a Wilder watch, and it is still probably in my top 5 of him. I thought when it first started, I was like, this is going to be kind of a drag. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through. And then honestly, the character moments and everything starts picking up. I've talked about it the other week, but I think it flies by. I think the courtyard or however you would call it, like those scenes are like so entertaining. There's comedic elements to it, which is surprising. Honestly, really surprising with a movie and a POW camp. So yeah, I think it's still on Prime. I'm not 100% on that, but if it's go check it out. Like I think it is. I think it's a real easy watch once that first 30 minutes kicks in. It's really good. So, Cam, Lucas, Spence, why not this?
I haven't seen it.
Or I haven't seen it.
Paul made me watch it too. So congratulations, he made half the Fandom watch this movie. Really good. I don't love it as much as he does, and I did not get as obsessed with it as he does. So I decided to rewatch 1917 in the midst of him rewatching this movie for the 9th time. Thank you, Cody.
This is the correct movie with 17 in it. I'm just going to say.
Thank you. No, really good movie. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. It's really enjoyable. I love the scene where they paint the white line. That's a hysterical and really funny comedy scene.
Yeah, I'm really curious what movie Lucas is going to make me watch after winning that Oscars pool, but that's apparently still never going to happen, so maybe I'll get by the year.
Well, it's because you complained and said you wouldn't watch 2 movies, even though that's the rules.
Anyway, my number 6 My number 6 is Dunkirk.
Yikes.
Oh, good. I don't have to head out yet. Cool.
My number 5 is the movie Cody was referring to earlier. It's Come and See, which is from 1985. It is a movie made in Belarus, and it's about a young boy who finds a rifle and joins the Soviet army. And it really is like one of the most horrifying anti-war movies you will ever ever see. It's so moving and it's grueling. It's visually incredible. It's, again, I don't want to say too much about the sort of the machinations of the film, but seeing this boy go into this not knowing what to expect, and then the way he comes to understand what war does to people and how war changes people is incredible. It's just really it's really heavy, but it's really moving. I would encourage everyone to at least watch this once. Amazing movie. I understand if people haven't seen it, but it's phenomenal, and I think it deserves attention.
Yeah, so me and Paul had a conversation. I was going to watch it. The channel or Criterion channel, the subscription was down at least for half the day for me. I tried to watch it, couldn't get it done. But I'm going to check it out. I put enough time in to try to watch it. I think I'll finish it. But yeah, it will be one I definitely check out. Anybody else on this one? Have you guys seen it?
No. Paul was talking to me about this one the other day, and it's definitely one I want to check out. Just didn't have a chance to between the discussion and then the panel today.
I know it's one of like the top 5 rated films on Letterboxd, but I haven't gotten around to it.
And they changed the poster, which is stupid. Anyway, to get off Michael's corner. So my number 4 is, I think, one of the great underrated films from like an all-time director. That's Steven Spielberg's Empire of the Sun. This is my favorite Spielberg movie that is not Jaws. I find it incredibly moving. The way you see Christian Bale's character go in as this bright-eyed kid who's been living, away from Britain his whole life. He doesn't understand really what war is about, and then the war breaks out and everything changes, and his family is scattered, and he's by himself, and he's forced to kind of fall in with these war refugees. And it's shot so beautifully. I think this is some of Spielberg's strongest filmmaking, actually. And it takes sort of a turn in the second half of the movie where he starts to realize that war is a lot more than he bargained for. There's a specific scene where there's a Japanese fighter pilot crash lands, and he makes peace with him, and he offers him food, and they reconcile. And then there's sort of like a really sad ending to like the relationship of the two of them. But it's heartbreaking and beautiful, moving. It's like a sneaky coming of age story. Really early Ben Stiller in this movie. Great John Malkovich. Amazing movie. Highly underrated. I think this is one of the best Spielberg movies, and I think one that deserves a lot more attention. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, you're 100% correct with underrated Spielberg. I just purchased it on Vudu because I didn't own it, and I was just like, man, I can't believe, because it's one that you don't always automatically think of when you think of Spielberg. He has so many blockbusters and hits. This one falls to the wayside. But honestly, it is one of my favorite ones of his. I probably wouldn't put it as high, but I can. There's a little bit it's not so much my kind of movie at times, but no, I really do enjoy it. I think it should have made the list at least somewhere for. But I knew this was your favorite Spielberg besides Jaws, so I knew it'd make the list somewhere. So, Lucas, Cam, Spence, have you seen it?
Yes. Would you like me to elaborate?
Sure.
No, I watched this for school, actually, in English. I want to say in the 8th grade. I do really enjoy this movie. I haven't seen it in a while. The main thing I remember from it is the running gag of just "Hey kid, do you want a Hershey bar?" And he's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "So do I." Give me. It's I'm like, I think that's a great recurring joke through this movie, where it's it deals with this really serious issue, but it still has this great sense of humor to it, but knows when to put that at the wayside and focus more on the serious things. It's crazy that Christian Bale's character in this movie goes on to become a newsie. Yeah.
I think the timeline's a little shaky on that.
Can we talk about Newsies? Newsies is great, man. Kenny Ortega.
Shut up. Shut up.
Okay. Spence.
I mean, I have seen it. I watched it when I did the watch through of all the Spielberg. I think it's just outside my top 10 of his favorites. So I enjoyed it, but it's not top end Spielberg for me. Bale is really good in it, though. It's a really impressive.
He's amazing. It might be his best, literally maybe his best performance.
It's a shockingly nuanced performance for he's 12 or 13 in that movie or something.
Really young.
He's really young, and it's a really nuanced, complex performance. I mean, the dude could fucking act even before he hit adulthood. It's very impressive.
Spence.
I haven't seen it. It's on my watch. I've got a Spielberg box set on the shelf waiting for me. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
It's on Hulu too, so just
It's fair. Okay. We're down to threes, I think.
Cam's three. Yeah.
Three. Go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, all right. You said no superhero, you said no Star Wars, but you didn't say no fandom. My number 3 is War for the Planet of the Apes. Thank you, Paul.
Ooh.
I think this movie is brilliant. I think it is very, very similar to Bridge on the River Kwai, and I am fully willing to acknowledge that. It kind of is. I just watched Bridge on the River Kwai like 2-3 days ago, but whatever. It's the culmination of a great trilogy. Andy Serkis is brilliant as Caesar, and it's another movie that focuses not on like this massive battle that's happening, but on the preparation for that battle, where you have, in essence, a prisoner of war movie. Just those POWs happen to be apes who can speak sign language. It's absolutely fantastic. Woody Harrelson's performance in this movie is like really dark and disturbing, and I think it's really interesting. The visual effects are fantastic. It's a great way to wrap up that trilogy. I just think it's like one of the most unique takes on the war type movie. It's just there's not a massive battle, so oh well.
You're not going to hear anything from me. I enjoy this movie. I enjoy this trilogy. I think it's great. 3, I think you're kind of nuts. To be honest with you, but I don't mind. Correct. No, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's. Some people didn't like it as much. They think it didn't really tie up the series too well, but I thought it wrapped up perfectly. And I'm not a big Planet of the Apes fan, but these three movies I think are fantastic. Okay, so you guys, what do you guys think?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm not blown away by it. Dawn is like kind of by a pretty big wide margin my favorite of the Apes trilogy.
I would agree.
This one's good. I just think that in terms of as a war movie, I don't think it grips me with the sort of wartime themes. It doesn't move me in that way. I do love the very, very end. I think that's a very beautiful and poetic way to end the trilogy. But yeah, it's a solid, good movie. It's a movie I'd expect Kaleb Koho to have on his list. But yeah, it's a good movie.
Team 19, baby.
I love that part in Bridge on the River Kwai where Moses throws shit at guards. It's a really good movie. Not my favorite Apes movie. I don't think this is a war movie, but I'm a hypocrite, so don't listen to me. I mean, yeah, Steve Zahn's fun. That's about it.
Steve Zahn is fun. That's fair. It's not my favorite of the Apes trilogy, and I wouldn't count it because it's not based in a real. To me, it doesn't qualify.
Fictional war is still war.
No, that's fair. I mean, you can make the argument. I just personally would. It's the same reason I wouldn't include.
Look, we got Ken Burns over here, Mr. War expert.
I've tried to convince Cody to let me.
War is in the title, Lucas. War is in the damn title.
Yeah.
I mean, this is war. It also has war in the title. I wouldn't include it in the list either.
Anyway, thank you, Kirk. Thank you, everyone in the chat. No, War of the Worlds doesn't count.
War is in the title, bitch.
Okay, we're going to move on. Lucas, what's your 3?
My 3 is The Thin Red Line. Wow. No one else? I'm shocked.
Paul already talked about it. That's fair. Okay.
That's probably fair.
Even though he talked about Graves, whatever. Rule applies for some, doesn't apply for all. Go ahead, Lucas.
So, this is the best 90s war film, just so we're clear. Saving Private Ryan is not as good. It's a hard movie to talk about because it's such just an experience as you watch it. It has an amazing cast. It's really complex. It's the best Terrence Malick movie. It's just I don't know. It's hard to talk about right now. I love this movie so much, but it's like one of those movies you just kind of experience it. So what I would say to everyone is, if you haven't experienced this, go watch it. If you have, maybe watch it again. It's just a incredible ride as you get to just go through war through the twisted and brilliant mind of a man named Terrence Malick.
Yeah, we talked about it. Ensembles?
Yep.
Yeah. And I think you're 100% right. Like when Paul even brought it up, I was like, it's hard to like go into detail and talk about this because I think it tells an interesting how the story tells. I'm not a big Terrence Malick fan. He doesn't make Cody movies like by any means more normally, but this is one that I really gravitate to and I really enjoy. Yeah, I've said it before. I think it's the whole conversation of like, oh, Saving Private Ryan should have won Best Picture that year is one of the most confusing things for me at times because I think this movie is miles better. Spence, Cam, Paul, you can go last. You kind of already talked about it previously. Have you seen it or what?
I saw part of Tree of Life and part of Knight of Cups, and that kind of turned me off of Malick because Malick is not for me. But based on that recommendation, I'm probably in the same boat as you, so I will check it out.
Lucas said it was hard to talk about. It's even harder to talk about twice. So I just felt like that was a little unnecessary. Again, it's an amazing movie. Didn't feel like I needed to say the same sort of beats. Great, fantastic. Maybe my favorite Malick. I think it's real up. It's up for debate for me. But yeah, it's a great, amazing movie.
This is why Paul is one of my favorite hosts, or my panelists ever, because he doesn't make me yell about the same movies 14 times in a row. So I appreciate that. Or praise the same movie. Okay, Spence, you haven't seen it, right?
No, it's too long. Why?
But the Patriot.
Spence, didn't you see Cats more than once?
Not yet. Next Monday, you guys get to watch Cats with me on FBT.
I don't have to know. That's not the hell that I'm subjected to.
Not only do we not get to, we don't have to either.
Spence, what's your 3?
Oh, yeah, so my 3, hopefully it's yikes. My 3 is Schindler's List. Damn. Wow. Okay. In my opinion, Spielberg's second masterpiece. I think it's a fantastic film. Everyone in it is fantastic. It's word. I don't know. It's one of the first films that I remember really moving me. It's not even. I think everyone remembers the scene where he's like, I could have saved one more. I remember watching this at 3 a.m. in my bedroom, and just the final scene of everyone just going to Schindler's grave and putting a rose on it or whatever flower it was, just wrecked me. It really let me know the power of the individual human experience, how much one life could really change people, and it's amazing.
Okay, Schindler's List. Is it a fantastic masterpiece of a movie? Yes. The rewatchability of this movie is not high for me. I'm sorry. It just is. Yeah. It is 7 on my Spielberg probably because I think it's great, but I like some of his movies a lot more. Now if I said overall achievement, probably be number 2 on my list. I think Jaws is something very special to me. But I can't say anything bad about Schindler's List. It's not wrong. The reason why it's not on your list, and I'll cover Lucas right now, there's no battle. No one's dying. No.
No one's dying. I'm not sure about that part.
Something like that.
You might want to walk that part
back. That's right.
Aiming gun. It is a war film officially.
That was in the voice of Lucas. It wasn't from me, so you're fine. Okay. But anyways, it's a great movie. But if you have anything negative to say about it, well, good luck being back on the internet. Lucas, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Okay, so this is my number 1 Spielberg movie, and the reason it's not on my list is because I was only going to pick one movie to me that did not feature scenes of combat, and I chose to talk about Grave of the Fireflies and not Schindler's List. I think this is an amazing movie. War movie, it's a weird place because you can make the argument both ways. It's not directly about the war in any moment, but it is about the consequences of the war. It's rocks they're placing on the tomb at the end of the movie when they get the actor and the actual person to do it together. Amazing scene. I also love the scene where Schindler and his girlfriend, or his mistress, are riding on horseback and they watch the liquidation of the Warsaw Ghetto. That's particularly impressive, and just brutal sequence that you see changes. You literally watch a man change in real time in front of you. Amazing film. My weird qualification system had me not put it on the list, but like if I was to objectively say any movie that has war listed as its genre, it's 100% probably my number one, but I used an interesting qualification system.
I always think about this movie as more of a movie about Oskar Schindler than necessarily being about the conditions of World War II. I think the movie, again, is just structured around those ideas, and it's most interested in his conflict and the conflict of saving these people, which I think is kind of removed from the war itself. Ralph Fiennes is like amazing. This is like one of the great 90s supporting performances of the entire decade. Amazing movie. But, you know, I just don't think of it as war first, I guess. So that's, you know.
Yeah, I saw this for the first time last year. Like, this movie is brilliant, but I'm fully on the same page as Cody, where I'm like, I have seen it once. Great. I do not need to see it again. That's just me. I know someone who says this is their favorite movie of all time, and I think that person needs help.
It's my number two. So.
Well, you need help too.
You need help.
No, like, this movie is fantastic. It's just when it comes to movies about the effects of war on civilians, I am more prone to ones that involve children specifically dying and not just everyone.
Children die in Schindler's List. So.
Yeah, but it's not like specifically focusing on
but what's the
children.
only scene of color in the... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually...
I don't see color, Paul.
I actually have rewatched this movie like 20-ish times or something insane.
Okay,
I think Paul
what's your
knows.
three?
My number three, let me get some silencios in the chat. My number three is Paths of Glory. This is a movie that I rewatched and finished like half an hour before the show started. It's incredible, and I think it's such an honest look at the way that men use war as a place for glory and to glorify themselves. And this is weirdly like Kubrick's most humane and empathetic film that he's ever made. I think that he has such care for the people in this situation, especially the scene at the end where they bring in the woman who's a singer, and you see the soldiers and Colonel Dax is told that they're going right back out into the war. That part is such a perfect microcosm of sort of the cyclical nature of war. The scene at the beginning where the guy's killed with a grenade, and then there's a situation of who's going to be blamed for it. It's stirring and moving. The courtroom scene is incredible. There's an actual war scene in it, so here it qualifies for Lucas. But yeah, it's phenomenal. It's got so many different levels to it, and it's got a lot of different types of actions going on. Incredible movie. One of my favorite Kubrick movies, and one of the great films of the 50s period.
Well, here we go. I haven't seen it. And there's a reason why I did not watch this. And it's not because I don't. I'm going to watch it after this episode. I know it's a weird take to have. But I think it's one of those movies that is very adored and loved. And I want to go in with the most unbiased mindset possible. I don't want to try to watch it for a show and see where it ranks and see, like, because that's what happened with 2001 for me. Watched it. It was for the episode. I said, compared to all the other things, I just want to watch it in its own entirety because I think it's going to be a good movie, but I think that's what ruined 2001 for me. So that's why I said no, because I think I'm going to actually enjoy this movie, but I didn't want to watch it through a lens. I just wanted to watch it as a film. So that's my viewpoint on it. Take it or leave it. I don't really care. Everybody else on Paz.
So of all the films, I have a stack of DVDs I was going to watch for this. This was number 2. If I had more time this week, I would have gotten to it. I was really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, missed it.
What was number 1?
It's also on Prime, by the way.
No, actually, I actually had the DVD. Number one was Judgment Nuremberg because again, Judy Garland. Yeah. I love Stanley Kubrick. I would have loved to make time for this. Unfortunately, I didn't, but I'm happy to see it this high on your list. It makes me more excited to watch it eventually.
This was on my list, and then I watched The Patriot. I'm sorry, Paul, but you're welcome, Cody.
Wow.
And
Kirk Douglas just turned in his grave.
Good for him.
And to think you ruined the sucking up of the Patriot by putting Jojo Rabbit on your list.
You win some, you lose a lot more.
That's fair. I've seen it. It never connected with me. Like, I was left very cold by the film, and it just... it's not bad, but to me it was just never... maybe I should revisit it, but it was never a film that really that clicked with me. I watched it, and I was like, okay, that's good, but then I kind of forgot about it very quickly, so that's the reason it's not on my list.
Okay. We are to Paul.
Nope, it's my number two.
Cam, 2.
I feel like I might not actually get any controversy or hate for this one. My number 2 is Inglourious Bastards.
Same.
It's your 2 as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so both talk about it.
On the other side doesn't have it. This movie does a fantastic job of showing 3 different kind of sides of a military conflict going, like, of World War II, where you have the bastards going in and being this, like, active military militia group, and then you have Shoshana being this civilian who, like, is deeply affected by the war and everything that's happened and wants her revenge on it. And then you have Hans Landa, who Christoph Waltz is brilliant in that movie. It's a fantastic performance. And he's just, like, he doesn't view what he's doing as wrong. To him, it's just, this is the job. I have been hired to do this. And it's going to keep me alive, and it's going to be the thing that keeps me going. And then in the third act, he's like, oh, I'm fully willing to, like, work with you guys, do whatever it takes. I just want to live. I want to be the guy who, like, makes it out. And you're going to say that I help you, because he's not loyal to any country or any ideals. He's loyal to himself and just wants, like, to be recognized for being this important figure, no matter who wins in the end. There's great moments of comedy in it. There's fantastic moments of drama. The screenplay is fantastic, specifically the moment when they're in the...
Man, what a beautiful time!
I'm gonna say that he was gonna say tavern there, and maybe pivot to Cody talking about it.
I think this does a fantastic job of being a film full of great scenes that actually work really well together. I think this is maybe Tarantino's best screenplay. I think it really flows. And something I want to note about Hans Landa as well. I think he's great at being unnerving, and it's more than just in the sense of just the outright horror. It's just the active sense of just uncomfortableness. And to me, I would look towards, as well as like the opening scene at the barn. When he's actually eating the strudel with Shoshana, and every like moment of hesitation she has for every bite and every word he says is fantastic. It is one of those few 3-hour films that I think is genuinely engaging the entire way through. And this is probably Tarantino's like peak as a director, not in terms of film, but just as a director, it is fantastic.
Is Apex Mountain, some would say.
Okay. Yeah, I think I think this has been on like characters and Tarantino and like so many different ones. I can't say much more about it. I love Inglourious Bastards. I think it's great. I think it has great comedic beats to it, and then also real serious moments. So I enjoy all aspects to it. Lieutenant Aldo Rain is one of my favorite characters in any film ever. Just because of the most ridiculous, just how Brad Pitt pulled it off. Because I'm not the biggest Brad Pitt fan, but to see him in that role and just to see him like look like he's just having a blast. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. He just sometimes always just, I don't like run out to see the next Brad Pitt movie. He's a fine actor. It's just not my go-to actor. But yeah, I think Inglourious is fine. I expected it to be a little high, and you both had it in the exact same spot. So maybe Lucas and Paul are wrong. So why not on your list?
Shout out to Zach. Brad Pitt is the greatest living movie star. But anyway, again, it's a movie I love. I talked about it 2 weeks ago. It's just a movie that I feel like I've talked about to death. The tavern scene is like the great Tarantino scene for me, probably ever. It's just one of my favorite war movies. Also, I just felt like that. There's nothing much new for me to say about this movie. Diane Kruger's amazing. Like Melanie Laurent's amazing. Like it's all like it's amazing. And like from top to bottom, like I think this is growing on me as potentially my favorite Tarantino movie. That'll tell with time. But yeah, Brad Pitt is one of my favorite people. Just he's amazing. Yeah, great movie. The Return.
My computer decided to crash. So
okay. So we said a lot about it. We're on to Lucas right now. So Lucas, go ahead and finish up Inglourious Basterds.
I think I'm in the same boat as Paul in that it's a really good movie. I just didn't think I had that much to say about it, so I didn't put it on my list. I absolutely love the tavern scene. Absolutely love Fassbender. Clearly, I can't.
I'm really trying, guys. This has never happened before, and my computer decided to.
Did you borrow?
That's what every guy says.
Did you borrow Jack's computer? Okay.
Oof.
Cam, do you have anything else to say about Inglourious Basterds?
Yeah, Cam, why don't you talk about Inglourious Basterds?
Yeah, I don't know how much of what I said.
Right before you said tavern. Tavern.
Sure. I can't cut out Paul either.
Yeah.
So that's fun. No, I think I said stuff about great performances. I don't know if that ended up.
Yep.
Did me talking about the tavern scene end up making
that was right where you cut off?
That was right where I cut off. Yeah, I just think the moment it like where Michael Fassbender goes, I want 3 beers, and he goes like this. That is, I think, one of the best examples of like visual cueing and storytelling in a movie, where it's like immediately all the characters react as though something has gone wrong, and the pacing of the movie and the score even tells you that something has changed, but you don't notice it. And then when you realize what's happened, and then you go back and rewatch it, and you see it, you're like, it's just this brilliant, simple moment that changes the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Lucas, what's your 2?
All right. My number 2 is Dunkirk.
Okay, hold on one second. Cam, leave and come back. Just so you can possibly hear Paul. Okay, go ahead, Lucas. Start talking about Dunkirk.
All right, so Dunkirk is a movie that has a lot of detractors that I genuinely have trouble understanding where they're coming from. I adore this movie. It's my favorite Nolan film. I love the multiple storylines. I love that the fact that on the first time in theater, it's just visually engaging, beautiful, and impressive. And it took me to the second rewatch to start realizing that the storylines interconnect and that you can see the plane shot down in both parts and then they intersect with each other. I think this movie is brilliant. I also don't understand the argument that, I don't have any connection to the characters. I don't understand how you don't connect with what is such a purely human story of just like individuals on a beach trying to get out. Basic patriotism from people who are like, I'm going to get in my small boat and go to France to try to save soldiers. I think this is just an amazing film. It was so much fun in the theaters. It's been fun every time on rewatch. It's one of the best movies of the decade. It's the best Nolan movie. I'm going to stop talking because I know Paul wants to talk. It's just an amazing film.
I think so. This is my number 6. If your argument is this film doesn't have characters, you're an idiot who doesn't understand the different films have different intentions, and also that different films are trying to accomplish different things. The way that this film is sequenced and the way that it's sort of symphonized together, it's not the same type of film that I think that we're used to seeing from a war film, which is why I think it's almost hard. You almost have to train your brain to look at it in a different way. But I think that once like it all clicks together, which for me it really did, especially the second time I saw it. I don't know. Again, I like kind of like Lucas said, I empathize for these people so much. You see the gamut of human emotions and the sort of stiff upper lip British heroism that is kind of like unique in films of this style. And this craft, I think, like the way it's sequenced, the way that it's paced is so brilliant. Like it's hard to follow, especially the first time. But I think again, once everything falls into place, the way that everything fits together, it's almost like a puzzle. And when it comes together, it's so beautiful and moving. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But to me, I just think it's an amazing, incredible movie. It's not my favorite Nolan movie, but I think it's one of the great war films. And yeah, just an amazing movie.
This movie's boring as shit. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Rogue One did this exact same movie, where no one really, you don't connect to any of the characters and they don't matter at the end of the day.
Yikes.
I know. I'm just saying it's. I sat through it. I watched, and I was just like, I didn't gravitate, and I understand. I didn't have characters. I'm not saying you have to have characters, but if you want me to care about the important moments, I need to know something or grab it. Like it just how it bounced around and stuff. It wasn't for me at all. I found it incredibly boring. It didn't have a lot of emotional weight to any of it to me because I couldn't gravitate to any of the characters. Tom Hardy is just floating around in a plane for God knows how long. I bet there's a timeline out there. And I understand it's about real moments and stuff like that. I just think there's a story that you can tell. I always hate Paul always does the argument that he just brought up the thing that characters, there's different things. Yeah, there's different things. I'm tired. If I want to see a beautiful painting, I'm going to a flipping museum. I'm tired of sitting around 2-hour movies just because it's pretty. I watch documentaries. I watch Planet Earth. I'm tired of watching movies that just get a pass because they're pretty and they're this and they have no substance and nothing to carry with it. That's my take on it. I don't think the movie's great. I think Nolan's honestly, these past couple, since Dark Knight, is completely overrated by a large margin. There's these huge fanboys that sit around and sit there and be like, my God, let's praise the earth he walks on. But let's get over yourselves, guys. Interstellar was trash. Dunkirk was trash. Yeah, cool.
Wow. I was called a Nolan fanboy.
It's no Todd Phillips. I'll tell you that. It's no Todd Phillips.
That's your quick response to it. I'm not saying Todd Phillips is any better than Nolan, but I'm tired of he gets a strong pass on everything he does because it's Christopher Nolan. Interstellar is in the top 250 films of all time because of a bunch of people saw it, and anything he does
so is like Avengers Infinity War, like
exactly. I think there's a huge issue. So no, I think it's
called popular movies get pushed high in the top 50.
And Interstellar shouldn't even be close. So yeah, I think Nolan needs a real shot down, like knock you down to earth. Let's realize that you're not as great as you once were. Everybody else, anything on Dunkirk?
You stole the words right out of my mouth. Like I agree with you entirely. I think the character connection is the biggest issue of the film. It's not poorly made. I am one of those self-prescribed Nolan fanboys, even though half his movies are sort of shit.
What? Half are shit?
Wow. Like 4 out of
8. First of all, what? Not even 8 movies. What do you know how to? Never mind.
Maybe I can't count. Either way, I do think that it's sort of just it's not an interesting film in my opinion. I just get bored very quickly because of the lack of connection. I think the action is well directed. I think it sounds great. Technical aspects are all there. I fucking hate Mark Rylance, and overall, it's just
as a person.
Just like he stole Stallone's Oscar.
What did he do to you?
And then he made Ready Player One boring as fuck, more boring than it already is.
Stallone's Oscar? What are you even talking about? He didn't deserve an Oscar, you moron.
It's whatever. Like
real quick, I just want to say something. One thing. I think a lot of times when we see movies, we think that character mean like knowing a lot about the characters mean we know a lot of information about the characters. But I think it's more important to see how those characters respond to stressful situations. And I think you learn more about the people responding to them hiding on the bridge than you ever will by learning someone's name, their way they grew up. That stuff is not as important to them as people.
I get
as the way
that,
they act in
but then they
situations.
just look like pieces of just that you can just throw away that you don't have any weight to it. That's the problem I see with those.
That's
movies.
what a war is. That's how people see war.
And there are a ton of war movies that give you some complex that you can at least gravitate towards. They bounce around so much that you can never gravitate with any of the characters, any of them.
I think this is like just a fundamental disagreement because I love war movies like this.
I don't think Cam has got to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it will be bashing, but it's fine.
Do I talk about it now?
Yeah, Cam.
Sure.
Cool. I still can't hear Paul, so I don't know what he said about this movie, but I don't
He
want
said he
to
hated
come
it.
back
Terrible
to make it
trash.
awkward. I'm gonna be real honest right here. I couldn't finish this movie.
What? Cam, where do you live? I will come and watch this with you and help you understand
That
this
doesn't
film.
help you stay awake.
Yeah, Lucas, I feel
Look,
like
if
that
I
would
can
just make it
finish
worse.
Tall Girl, you can't finish Thunder. What the hell is going on?
No, I got like 20 minutes into this movie and I was just like, I can't. I also have a bias against this movie because it won the Best Film Editing Oscar over Baby Driver. Deal with it, Paul. I'm
Baby
mad
Driver
about
is
it.
bad.
Deal with
Baby
it,
Driver is
Paul. I'm
bad.
mad.
Okay, I'm not going that far.
Deal with it. I'm
telling
mad
you
about
that.
it. No, I couldn't finish this movie. And Paul, you can say whatever you want because I can't hear you, so your criticism doesn't get to me. Also, my computer might be alive again, so can we go to someone else's number one before me, and then I'll try and get back on with a computer that works. Thank you.
Sure. Whose two was
It would
that?
be Lucas.
Yeah.
Oh well,
I think
that was Lucas. That was Lucas.
It's Lucas, so it's Paul's two.
So
because
it's my
Chris
two.
had it
Oh,
work.
cool. So I thought it was Paul's two for a second, so I was just like, oh, it's my turn. But
It was Paul's two.
No.
now it is.
Although we will probably need Cam for this. I think I forgot who's had this earlier. My number two is a yikes from earlier. It's Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now. Did you have that higher?
Yeah. So,
No, I have it on my list.
Cam.
Oh.
it was yikes from yikes from Spence.
I
That's what it was. Okay.
can't hear Paul, so thank you for putting it on the screen, Koho.
So for me,
Oh,
for a long time, this was my
Give me one
favorite.
Give me 1 second. I'll
Okay,
be right back.
Somebody mute him. Can you? Thank you.
For a long time, this was actually my favorite Coppola movie. I think it so perfectly illustrates what war does to the human psyche. I think when you get Colonel Kurtz as well as Martin Sheen and the entire the entire group that goes into that jungle, I think it's such an amazing adaptation of Joseph Conrad's Hearts of Darkness. I think that taking that and sort of inverting it and making it into a modern war story is such an inspired choice. And I just love the atmosphere around this movie. The amazing musical choices, the way that they cross-cut with the fan and the helicopters. I think that the filmmaking is just so excellent. It's moving, but it's also beautiful and haunting. It's like almost everything you'd want in any dramatic film. But I think that to set it at war and to have this deep exploration into sort of the human soul is incredible. It's an amazing, phenomenal war movie.
Yeah. I had a point to say. As someone who hates the Heart of Darkness book, I think it's also a fantastic adaptation. And like you said, it's taking the core of the novel and the real emotions of it and translating it to this large, bombastic story. And you talk about like Ride of the Valkyries, and that's always the iconic scene. But to me, I think the Battle of the Riverboat is fantastic. I think it is one of those great films which show the horrors of war, as well as just how it works on the interpersonal people. And like Colonel Kurtz and his entire journey, even though it's like a 2-minute scene, it's every character in the film sort of has to react to his stimuli and how he has like changed this group's interaction with the war. And then I forget the character's name, but Martin Sheen sort of going through it and to get to him and just the lack of payoff. It's a perfect metaphor for just what Vietnam was to America. And I think that it just works fantastically in terms of just war storytelling. Like, it's not a war film. I think it just is like the war in a metaphorical sense, and it's brilliant.
It's Captain Willard, by the way. I forgot his
Thank
name
you.
as well. But.
Yeah.
Little surprised two other people didn't. Apocalypse Now is one of my favorite. It would be my number one if we were doing war movies. I absolutely love Apocalypse Now. I almost started it, but then stuff happened. But like that, especially that first scene is just. It's like just the way like it goes into the descent. I love all three cuts, honestly, of it.
Shout out to Cody's Voodoo. I could finally watch the final cut. Thanks to Cody's Voodoo account.
Yeah, I have all three. I like all of them. I like all the cuts. And I think, like, I always will think Godfather's higher, but like Apocalypse Now is just one of those movies. I think is brilliantly done. I think it flies by. I think it's one of those movies that is not the most exciting to watch at times, but it's honestly one of those interesting stories that I think most people need to watch. And if you don't have it,
watch the documentary about it. It's crazy that this movie was even made, let alone good, let alone amazing. So
yeah.
Love Tropic Thunder.
If you need to, I share my voodoo with everybody that's on there. You can be on there for 3 hours, and I'll kick you off afterwards. So yeah, go ahead, man. Everybody else, why no Apocalypse Now for the two of you? Like, I'm really surprised by Lucas. I don't Cam.
Okay, so
you and Jojo Rabbit. So.
I can explain. It was when I made the list initially. If I was making an objective list of the 10 best war movies, it would be on. I took it off because I wanted to talk about other things that were lesser seen. No, 1917 was higher up. I took it off for like Lone Survivor and Taiguchi. It's amazing. Kurtz's monologue is unreal, and the fact that Brando didn't memorize that, he was like reading and doing that, is insane. That it's that good, and he's like, it's the laziest, amazing monologue in the history of film. Like, how are you that good while not trying? Like, that's scary. It's an amazing film, and just like as Paul said, the documentary is unreal. When you find out, they didn't just like put fake heads in the ground; they actually buried people in the dirt so that only their head could be seen, and they had them buried for hours. Like, the absolute insanity. And they like got real helicopters from the military, and then the helicopters had to like leave and go do like actual military work and then come back. Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, it's a completely insane movie. And like Coppola is literally just like about to die the entire process. He's like losing his mind there, which is kind of amazing because the movie is about a person losing his mind, and the director is literally losing his mind, and the main star is literally losing his mind while the movie's going. It's a fantastic movie. Just, I took it off because I wanted to talk about other things.
Yeah. I actually like the documentary more than I like Apocalypse Now, because I think, the documentary being real makes it more terrifying and kind of horrific to watch. And B, I don't know what I was trying to say. Whatever. Never mind. I think it's not on my list because I've only seen the original cut, which from what I've heard is the worst.
That's probably the best one. The Redux is probably the worst version, I think, for most people.
Oh, well, I've heard from most places that the original cut was the worst version, and I didn't feel good putting the worst version of this movie on my list if I haven't seen it in its prime form. And then also, I clearly leaned more into my favorites over what I think are objectively the greatest. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the final cut's probably I like the theatrical cut, but like the final cut is
I like the plantation stuff, but that's pretty unpopular. I think a lot of people don't like the Redux adds a plantation scene that is kind of controversial. They use like real animals. It's kind of
yeah. Okay, so this is all
Cam's one.
And
Cam's
Paul
one.
knows what it is because I didn't realize he was going to be on the show, and so we were talking on Sunday, and I told him what my one is, and he got upset, and I feel like everyone else is going to get upset. My number one is Hacksaw Ridge. I'm just going to say it, and we're gonna. Yep, cool.
Oh
yeah, I was waiting for that reaction. Honestly, it's not even my reaction.
I have cancer now.
Look, Jesus I knew Christ. This wasn't going to go well for me, but oh well.
Speak your truth, Cam. Speak your truth.
I'm going to. I really enjoy this movie. I think in the first act, it introduces this character really, really well. Shut up, Spence. I wasn't going to put Rogue One on my list. It introduces you to this really interesting character who feels such a duty to like serve, but also is completely unwilling to like commit harm against another man. because when he was a kid, he almost killed his brother by bashing his head in with a brick. But like for me, the big thing is when you get into the third act and when you actually reach the ridge, and it is just this insane carnage. Like it's so like grisly and gruesome, and you just have this man with no gun walking through this battlefield trying to survive and trying to save these other people, and then everyone in his group retreats and he's like, I can't leave these people behind. And the scene, I know some people might think it's cheesy, but for me it just hits when he's like, help me get one more, help me get one more. That just like hits me. And like all the people at the bottom are like, people just keep coming down and they don't understand where they're coming from, and they realize he's still up there and they're like, that's insane. And then like he just starts like literally batting people's grenades away that they're throwing. Like it's so visceral in that third act, but seeing this man try to keep his humanity throughout all of that, I think is incredible. You can kill me now.
Anybody else?
No one does, Cody.
That's what I expected. So when did this movie come out? 2016. 2016. I remember seeing it and be like, man, that was really good. Like I really enjoyed that. That was awesome. Then I rewatched it. I must have been high on like icy and popcorn, because I get it. The third act is fine. Like I enjoyed the third act because I understand. Like a lot of people tell me you get a little more stuff because it's a true, like it's about, like it's got some true elements to it, and like that's fine. Doesn't make the story enjoyable for me at times. I think it's a slosh to get through to the beginning, like to get to that third act. Like I wanted to punch him in the face, and that's like a character like I shouldn't have to, but like how he just like, I know there was like talk about him winning the Oscar and stuff from this, and I was just like, whoa, you guys are, but no, I would have beat him up. I would have literally beat him up. I'm pretty sure he annoyed me. I wouldn't want to go to war with him. And I understand he saved lives, and it's great, but this movie really just annoyed me on rewatch. On original watch, great. I don't think it has much rewatchability after that, because it takes a long time to get to the third act. That's that movie like you watch the final scene on YouTube. Just like see that, and you're like, that's great.
Is that 1917 you're talking about, or is that a...
Yeah, same thing. I'm with you on that one, Paul.
Or
same
Endgame.
So, okay.
Shots fired.
Okay.
But
so
not
yeah.
by
Yeah, so that's right. Okay, everybody else.
You see, Cam.
I want to leave Lucas for last.
Okay. You see,
He
Cam.
did say he got cancer, so let's leave.
I understand why you love this. You have a very personal connection to it. It is the Rogue One of War films, because its first two acts are dog shit. They're boring. I don't care about any of the characters.
Come on here to listen to this Rogue One slander bullshit.
Hugo Weaving is fucking awful. Hugo Weaving is genuinely bad.
Oh,
He's tracked the film down in his comic villainy, and it's just the third act is amazing. I'll give you that. But you can't, and I think that this is one thing. This is the one good thing I'll give the movie is I think that Mel Gibson avoids his general preachiness. I think the film focuses on the character and says what's made this man great is not his religion. It's his I don't know, just like his code of honor. I think that's well. I think if you get it to like 90s or even 2000s, Gibson would have been a lot worse. But that doesn't save the film from just being a like 2-hour build up to a very good finale. But those 2 hours are just boring as shit.
I think Scully kind of hits a big part of why I like this movie as much as I do in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the third act is decent. I just think that the most of the movie is just cornball city. Like all of the romance stuff is like straight out of a Nicholas Sparks adaptation. Like that stuff makes you want to like turn the movie off immediately. That's like really rough. I think like
Pearl Harbor.
It's just really hokey. Ooh, it's not that good.
So close
it's really it's really hokey. I think that's really my biggest thing about it. Like, it's not a terrible movie, but I think this is one where it's like, if you've seen like 15 war movies, you're like, man, this is amazing. But like, I feel like it pulls so much of its best elements from other movies. And it's just like, it's all right, I guess. I don't know. I've never been that impressed with it.
Have you recovered?
Lucas.
I mean, if you want an Andrew Garfield religious film, you should watch Silence because that's not dog shit.
I never slandered Silence in any way.
I'm not saying
it's not a war movie.
I agree with a lot of what's already said. The last 40 minutes are pretty good. It is so hard to get there. Weaving is awful. The relationship is awful. It's so bad. I like genuinely every year. Like I usually, when I look at the best picture picks, I'm like, I agree with most of these. I understand why they're up here, even if they're not my favorites. This is a movie I genuinely do not understand why it was even in consideration. Like I think it is 40 minutes of a good movie, and 90 minutes of a terrible movie, like a legitimate like TV original quality. Like it's really bad up until they get to the battle scene at the end. It's rough. It's really rough. And this is funny,
everybody,
because I was talking to Paul the other day about what's the worst movie that could possibly appear on this list, and I saw Ridge is one of the ones that we threw out as a possibility.
That was mostly you. This is not my favorite, but I'm not that.
Okay, just to let everybody know that's watching your list sucks, if this is your first time, Lucas isn't here every week, so we'll get along.
Can we let
Neither
Lucas
than the
host
host
at some
sometimes.
point? Yeah.
Okay, I think that's right. So we're going, Lucas, what's your one?
My number one is Black Hawk.
Oh, I know this is.
I love this movie. This to me is like the epitome of war films in that it is chaotic, crazy, full of great actors, but all the actors are playing characters and you barely recognize them. Thank you, Paul. They're not supposed to be super well-rounded characters. They are soldiers in a firefight. They serve their purpose, and you have good actors doing it, but it's never like you're not watching a movie where like, oh, I'm watching the Ewan McGregor movie. Like this cast is insane. I'm not going to list it because this.
You want me to pull it up?
I mean, we could talk about Jamie Lannister as the sniper. That's a good one. It's an amazing film. I just love the frenetic pace. I love the stylized Ridley Scott movie. It's crazy. It's weird. You start out in this country and you can tell there's a problem and you're trying to fix it. And it's just like, it's kind of an amazing tale of incompetency at the same time, because they never have intel that's good enough to really do anything in the film. And they just keep trying stuff and it keeps going wrong. Like they try an extraction and it doesn't work, and they try to protect people and it doesn't work. And it's just an amazing, crazy ride for like 2 hours and 20 minutes. Best war movie, in my opinion.
Not going to hear a lot of complaints from my end. I love Black Hawk Down. I think this is one that is just chaos.
It's a Lucas Cody movie right here.
It is a Lucas and Cody movie. As soon as you put Black Hawk Down, and no one else put Black Hawk Down, I was like, oh, at least it was represented. I would most likely put it like probably 5. But overall, 100% yes. I think this movie is great. I don't think it gets enough credit. You did not mention the best actor in this movie, Josh Hartnett, which he was still around, still making movies. Yeah, you guys are all wrong. Why not Black Hawk Down?
I too miss Josh Hartnett. I actually saw this movie for the first time a couple of months ago, and I just wasn't that impressed with it. I think it's good. I don't know what Eric Bana is doing in almost any movie, but like especially this movie, he's just kind of weirding around. Like it doesn't even seem like he's in the movie. He's just kind of like looking off into the distance and like saying random quotes. Like I don't understand what his character is supposed to be. Some parts of this movie work for me, some don't. Like some of the actors, I think don't really quite fit what the tone of the movie is trying to be. But some do. Like it's just kind of a little all over the place for me, and I don't like. It is chaotic, but I don't think it comes together in a way that is satisfying for me. So it's like a good movie. I just was not super impressed by it, I guess.
Well, you're incorrect. Spence.
Take a guess why this isn't on my list.
You haven't seen it?
Yep.
Was it fourth in the DVD pile?
I actually don't own it. I would have watched MASH before that, so fuck you.
God.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. I wanted to see this DVD pile at one point.
I can show you after. It's pretty
Cam?
I think I saw this movie when I was like 12 or 13. Because I had no older brother.
Was it out yet? Was it out yet? I'm just kidding.
Yes. You're making the reverse of the joke everyone makes about me being really young.
It just didn't hit as well as Boys in the Striped Pyjamas. I thought
you were about to say Hood. I was like, what?
I also thought that's where we're going, and I got real worried for a second. No, I saw this movie then. I don't remember it much, and I haven't seen it since.
That is fair. Incorrect, but fair.
I remember it being absolutely crazy, but I couldn't tell you a single plot point other than that the Black Hawk goes down, I think.
I don't know what you got from that, but wrong. Go ahead, Spence.
Okay, so I'm going to get fucking yelled at for this one. I can't wait for that. Number one is Full Metal Jacket. This is yeah, there you go. So one of the films that made me fall in love with film. It was one of the movies that made me, thank you, Koho, made me fall in love with Stanley Kubrick. I absolutely adore the experience. I think the opinions that this is 1/3 of a good movie are horseshit. I think it is engaging all the way through. I don't think you should look negatively upon the rest of the film for how stellar the first act is. I think the entire journey of Joker is just fascinating, not the movie, the character. I believe that everything he does both at boot camp and at Vietnam are incredibly harrowing and dark experiences. And I think to really sum up why I believe the end of, or the second third of the film is so great, is to look at the sniper scene. And I think it's done fantastically, so fantastically that 1917 had to steal from it. I think that it is incredibly engaging, intense, and it really makes, again, I think the idea, like, for a war film to be engaging, I have to feel like I'm in the war, and that's what that scene did. And the final shot of them marching off into the blaze, singing the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse theme song, is one of my favorite moments in cinema, period.
Yeah, I don't hate this movie. I don't like it overall as a movie. Like, I like the first half. Like, it tells an interesting story, and then I think it's two different movies, in my best way to put it. Like, I don't think it's bad. It definitely shifts, and I'm not okay with the shift. Like, I liked where it was going. I was intrigued by it, and then they just do a complete flip on it. So, yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I'm glad this is the movie that made you love film. It's always weird when those like ones come out. Like, I think it's fine. But again, it's not. I think this one's a little bit overhyped, to be honest with you. A lot of people like Screamless is like 3 other people didn't have it on the list, but I don't think it's one of the best war movies anymore. I think it tells a real cool depiction at the beginning of what war, like entering and becoming a soldier, and like my dad really related to it because he was in the Marine Corps, and he said that's a great glimpse of what you're going to like if anybody join. That's a great glimpse of what it is. But yeah, I just think it's two different movies. Everybody else didn't have it on your list. Why not?
Yeah, I'm a huge Kubrick fan. I think, as most people can probably tell. For whatever reason, this has always been one that I just could never get fully invested in. I think it's because I was a little late to it. I don't know why Spence was like worried about this being controversial. Like, this is a great and amazing movie. It's just not one that I've ever really connected to personally. I do love the way that it takes D'Onofrio and Modine as these sort of actors you wouldn't expect in these roles, and sort of inverts the public persona of them. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's just not one that I've ever really felt a personal connection to the same way that I have for the ones I put on my own list.
Lucas, Cam?
Go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, I saw this for the first time earlier this year. I agree with things Spence said they don't agree with, which is that this is 1/3 or 1/2 of a good movie, and the rest of it drags. That's exactly what it is for me. I think all the stuff in the boot camp with Vincent D'Onofrio is fantastic, and then the second half of this movie I found just so dull and uninteresting, because you kind of take out the best performance and the best character. Actually, the two most interesting performances and characters within the movie, being Sergeant Hartman and whatever Vincent D'Onofrio's character's name is. I only know the nickname. Get off my back. But like I don't like this movie. Kubrick is not very much a director that's for me, and this proves that trend.
So
Spence, stop bringing up Rogue One in the chat, okay?
I mean, okay, so here's a couple statements. One, yes, the first half of that movie is like A+ amazing. The second half is a step down, but it's not a bad movie by any respect. It's still a really good film. It was like, this is honestly was one that was really close in contention. Probably like 12 or something for me. Yeah,
that's a new one. That's a new one. You got to go to 12. You can't say 11.
Next week, folks, we talk about our 13s. No, I have no problem with this movie being on the list. Yeah, really good film. No problems. Great. Not
okay. I think we know.
No, my number one, right?
We think we know what this is.
I think we know what it is.
Yeah. So again, we talked about movies with war in the title. My number one is, of course, Bride Wars. An incredible war film. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It is the aforementioned Grave of the Fireflies. This is, I think, a movie that shows what war does to the people that aren't directly involved in it, in the most raw way, I think, that we've ever seen. It shows you what your normal everyday people have to do to survive in the climate of war, and what people will do to even their relatives. Like the aunt in this movie is like one of the most despicable characters in film history. The way that she kicks them out of her house is awful, awful, awful. It's just heartbreaking, and it's amazing to see the lengths that these two siblings will go for each other. And sometimes like that just isn't enough. And like the imagery is so poetic and beautiful. Like him when he's at the station by himself, kind of wandering around, and these people are basically ghosts that he's surrounded by. And just the bright colors of the fireflies that they walk amongst, like every portrait that you could take from this movie is incredibly gorgeous, and the movie is just pure heartbreak bottled and directly injected into your veins. It's an amazing, incredible movie. I think this is like, the war movie, even though it's not necessarily about the direct combat. It's staggering.
I think Lucas is next.
Yeah, it's oh my god. So this is one that Paul made me watch. It's utterly heartbreaking. I cried for 50 straight minutes of this film without stopping. It is I think the most heartbreaking film ever. I think as a guy who has younger sisters, watching a guy watch his younger sister die broke me on a deeply personal level, and beyond that, it is exceptionally crafted. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. The scene with the fireflies is amazing. It's a truly amazing film. It's on Hulu. Everyone should go watch it. And if you don't cry, you're legitimately a psycho.
Or you're my
Yeah. So if you ever want to know if Lucas says
like Cam had it.
I also had it. I had it at 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I echo everything that was said by Paul and Lucas. This movie is haunting. This movie is devastating. It's visually beautiful, and just watching things slowly get worse and worse for these kids, and especially just you spend the first 10 there's the opening scene where you sort of see
the firebombings.
Name. What the hell is his name? I don't remember.
Slater?
Yeah, you see him staggering around and stuff, and then it goes back, and you spend like a solid 10 minutes of this movie, and you just get to know them, and you fall in love, especially with this little girl. And she's just adorable, and she's charming. And then the entire movie, you are just slowly watching things get worse and worse for both of them, but especially for her. And the scene in it that hits me the most is the brother comes back, and she's just like, "While you were gone, I made you food." And then he's just like, "That's so nice." And he comes in, and she's just sitting there with like a pile of rocks and dirt and like swamp and like river water in a cup, and it's like, here it is, because she's just so like hungry and malnourished. I don't know how to phrase malnourished. That's the one. And malnourished, that she has kind of lost what reality is. I can't wait for Spence to talk about this movie, because I know how Spence feels, and we're all gonna get mad.
Uh-oh.
No. Okay. Well, I've said it.
I'm gonna go block Spence preemptively.
I'll say it before. Paul made me watch this movie as well, and I'm kind of glad that I waited till the year that I did. So like recently, over events and stuff, I became a father with through like foster care and stuff. So like the overall like feeling of like having kids now at this moment and seeing the story with that added element to it, I'm with Lucas. The amount of tears that I shed through this movie were I don't cry at movies. I really don't. It takes a lot for me to actually like feel and draw like emotion, because obviously most people know me in this community, but this movie is literally, and this is even a Cody movie, I would say. Like, arguably, I'm not an anime person either. Like, I don't gravitate towards those kind of films. Like, but this movie like it cuts away from everything. I would say, like, doesn't matter the genre of movie you like, doesn't matter the medium that you like to ingest it in. If you don't like cartoons, if you like cartoons, if you don't like, this movie is an emotional experience, as best I can put it. I don't believe I'll ever have to watch this movie again, just because of how it made me feel. But I'm excited to show it to like my kids at one point, because I think it will grow their attachment with their siblings even more because of the bond that they show in this movie. So it's brilliant. It's beautiful.
Never complain about dinner ever again.
Correct. And I am really curious. There's a Hall of Fame. There's a Hall of Fame. I'm just
Spence,
curious.
be honest right now. You have to be honest.
There's a reason.
Yeah, here's my question.
Yeah.
If you have an honest feeling about this, and I hear about it off screen, but you dumbed it down or you made it less eccentric that you normally do, I will never have you back on the show, because you're escaping what the show is all about. So
I will call you out.
Say what you need to say in fear of judgment.
I'll preface this with two things. One, there's a reason I'm up there with Malcolm and Brian with the worst fucking taste in this entire community. And two, this is tied with another movie on this list, actually on Cam's list, as the lowest rated films that come up today at 2 stars. I despise the movie. As someone who doesn't like children and who's an only child, I fucking hated the little girl. She annoyed the shit out of me. She was grating. She wouldn't stop complaining and whining about everything. I actively loathed the experience of watching the movie. I think it looks great. The animation is fantastic. I think it works well in scenes occasionally. But as someone, like, this is not a movie made for me. I can't stand children. So just
what do you mean, like a movie
children
for like humans with emotion?
If you give me a movie about 2 children complaining the entire time, and I'm glad that they're trying to survive, but I just didn't care. Like, I watched this in the fucking theaters for Fathom Events, and I wanted my fucking money back. I was done.
I think my favorite is that Spence says that I've heard Spence like directly not on air talk about this, and even this is Spence being nice to this movie. Because I've heard Spence say in discussion of this movie that you think the kids deserve to die.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, on to that.
I got enough.
Yeah, Koho, change the letter grade. Okay. All right, we're gonna go to.
I wanted to be
overall
nice.
top
That's
10.
it. That's it. That's the end.
The collective lists, I think, right?
I think that's the best way to end this.
Whew. That was the hottest take I've ever heard. Okay, at number 10, Fury. At number 9, Hacksaw Ridge. At number 8, Full Metal Jacket. At number 7, Black Hawk Down. At number 6, Jojo Rabbit. At number 5, 1917. At number 4, a movie. At number 3, Apocalypse Now. At number 2, Inglourious Bastards. At number 1, Grave of the Fireflies, which I'm fully okay with being on that list. Okay, the overall list, I think,
You have
is
emotions.
a B. I think it's a B overall. Okay, thanks for giving away the number 1 spot. But yes, the number 1 spot is Paul Oyama.
Yeah, that
Master
makes sense.
Commander, awesome. Fury, awesome. Stalag 17, awesome. Dunkirk, whatever. Come and see. Come and see. Empire of the Sun, great. Paths of Glory, I'm pretty sure I'm going to love. Again, just sacrificed it. Apocalypse Now, amazing. And 1, Grave of the Fireflies. You killed it. I should give you overall B+. 2, 3 I haven't fully seen. So I guess it's 3 that I haven't seen the list. Next is Lucas, I think, or is Cam? Yeah, Lucas. Okay, Lucas, I think it's a B-. Dunkirk just too high. But everything else I can stand behind. The other ones I had, the other one I didn't see. So yeah. Next is Cam. Cam comes in at a C+. Hacksaw Ridge, too high. Jojo Rabbit, 1917. Wasn't doing your favorite, but it did save you because you did have the Patriot. So that's up to you.
Striped Pyjamas. Hell yeah.
Is it written that way on my graphic too? Pull it back up.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh.
He's stranger right now. And last place is now Spence, F+. Z. I think it's going to be a Z from the take on Grave of the Fireflies. Eye in the Sky, better than Graves. Braveheart, Judgment of Nuremberg, Tropic Thunder, Jojo Rabbit, Apocalypse, Fury, Schindler's List. Yeah, overall great list. That's a show. I think it was a really great show. I think we had a really good discussion. Some people need to reevaluate their heart. Over next week is Stanley cameos with Koho. I'm not going to be here because it's not a topic that I'm super passionate about. Don't have much to say about it. So, but I think the comic book people are going to have a lot of fun. The next one is movie chase scenes. So any chase scenes in a movie, defend you the best. This next one I'm really excited about. Best years in film represented by 1 year. So 99, 2014, 2016. I've heard a bunch of different things, a bunch of stuff. Rank your list. Got to represent by one movie alone. You can talk about the rest of it, but the main thing is that one movie. It's going to be one of those things. And then summer songs. I'm letting Brooklyn back in the hosting chair. He's going to do songs, best summer songs to represent the summer and what you want to listen to during that time. And then the top 100 will kick off. I have my panelists. It's going to be Jake Marangoni, Kirk Kowalkowski, Kaleb Koho, and Caleb Boatman. Every Wednesday through the summer, we're just going to walk through 10 through. And if it gets yikes, we'll wait a couple weeks to actually talk about those movies. It's a project I'm working on. I'm going to do one also in this the winter. I think the panelists I have right now is Mike Hanley, Andrew Barr, Cameron Holzmann, and Nazario Montenegro. We're just going to pre-record some episodes. If it takes off and people really like doing it, I'm going to do the series more. It's going to be that kind of break time. But I like to walk through people's top 100 because I get a real taste of what their actual movie tastes are, and then we'll have a combined top 100. So it's going to be a huge list, but I'm excited about it to come out. So see you next week for Stanley cameos. Have a good night. See ya.
I'm sorry.
Well, I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you.
You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount.
I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
You got a lot of problems, don't you?
Oh, it's good to be back.
Eat shit. Eat shit. Eat shit.
Smug smile.
Definitely eat shit.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore.
You can't handle the truth.